In today's video, I'm going to be cleaning, decluttering, and organizing my pantry. I am currently working my way through the 2025 A Bowl Full of Lemons Home Organization Challenge, so stay tuned. Hey guys, my name is Nikki and I want to welcome you here to Carry Grace. Alright, so in today's video, like I said, we are going to be cleaning up, decluttering, and organizing my pantry. Alright, so I'm going to flip the camera around. I'm going to show you my starting point for the pantry, and we are going to see what we can get done. Alright, so here is the pantry right here in my kitchen. I've got it open. You can see I've got an organizer on the pantry door. And then inside the pantry, we have some like built-in shelving. And then we also have just some like put together wire shelving that we have added in here. A couple years ago, we added our microwave in here so that it wasn't on the kitchen counter, and Leo decided this would be the time to get water. So if you could hear that, that's what that was. So anyway, this is what we're working with. There's some things functionally that I know could be better in here. So I'm actually going to be pulling pretty much everything out. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to go one shelf at a time or if I'm going to pull everything out all at the same time. I don't want to get overwhelmed. So we may just kind of go one area at a time. There's some things, like I said, functionally that I think I can do better. So some things are going to get rearranged. Everything is going to get wiped down, cleaned up, especially the floors. So like I said, we're going to go through here. We're going to do some cleaning, decluttering, and organizing. One of the main things that I'm wanting to change is up here at the very top. You can see we have like a sloped ceiling right there. And I feel like my cookbooks may work better if I put them, I'm trying to not make you guys dizzy, if I put them down here on this shelf, which is going to require kind of rethinking through some things for sure. My husband's lunchbox that he takes to work every day is usually on that shelf. So I'm going to have to find a place for that. I'm going to have to remind myself not to like fill everything in. I've got to leave some space, and it needs to be super accessible for him. But definitely, like, the floors are dirty. I can see there's like pieces of onion peel back there in the very back. So I'm just gonna start pulling things out and getting things cleaned up. Because this is such a tight space, I don't know exactly how much of it I'm gonna get to actually show you, but I'm gonna try to show you as much as we can, or as much as I can. I am normally a start at the top and work your way down kind of person when it comes to cleaning things. But in this instance, I decided it was going to be easier to start at the bottom and then go up. The reason is because the floors were definitely very dirty and I needed to get those clean. And then also because that is where the most significant change was going to take place. And so I felt like starting down there was going to help me figure out where things needed to go. I felt like if I started up top, it just wouldn't have been as easy for me to make decisions. So that is why I did it this way. I didn't really have to get rid of much. There's a tray that I pulled out. I think I've used it one time. I'm going to get rid of that. I don't need it. I did find a random jar of dog treats that my dog doesn't have anymore, or he can't have them anymore. So I was able to get rid of those. I didn't really find any expired food. At the end, I did find like one or two things that were getting close to being expired. So I just kind of made a note of those things, and I will make a plan to use those up quickly. So that was encouraging. I was pretty excited that we didn't have a bunch of stuff that was out of date. Another thing, if you watched my last video, I've really been working on kind of our whole food situation, just trying to make sure that we are reducing waste and things like that. So I was pretty excited about that. I will also tell you that I have really been dreading doing this project. When I saw it on the list, I was like, oh, it's pantry week. But it ended up not being nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to take me forever, but it really only took me about an hour or hour and a half to do the whole thing, and that includes filming time. So I was pretty pleased with that. So if you have a project that you have been putting off, just start. Whether it's your pantry or a closet or a drawer, if the project feels overwhelming, one thing I always suggest is to just break the project down. Maybe just do one shelf, one corner, one little section. Sometimes that will motivate you to keep going. But then if you're done, it's okay to just give yourself permission and take a break, and then you can come back to it another day. So how many of you are following along with this challenge from a bowl full of lemons? I would love to know in the comments if this is something that you are also working through in your home. Also, if you are, let me know what week you are on. I know at the beginning of the challenge, I mentioned that it's really important to just take your time with this. Don't feel like you absolutely have to stay on track with her schedule. Life gets busy. Sometimes life is just messy, and it is okay to just take your time. I definitely want to encourage you to take your time. I will tell you, though, that because I committed to filming this, it has definitely really helped me stay on task. If I had not been committed to filming this, I probably would have stopped the challenge. So sometimes you got to do what you got to do to keep yourself on track. If you happen to have a weird, like hard to reach portion of your pantry, I recommend using it for an overflow section. I've got those, not weird, it's a deep corner at the top of the pantry, and it's hard to reach, it's hard to see. So I have found that using it for things that I don't need super often has made it very usable. So right here, I found some things that I want to put in some jars to just help them stay fresh. They're in Ziploc bags. I'm not really sure why I did that to begin with, but I put them in some jars, and then I printed out some labels so that everyone else in my house will know what is in these jars. Also, if you watched my video from a week or two ago when I went through my kitchen cabinets, I want to say that was last week, I had a ton of these jars. So I was really excited to find a way to use some of these jars in a very practical way. Another thing I did is I found a new bottle of olive oil in my section up there in the very top in that back corner where my kind of overflow stuff is. And I had plenty of room in my cabinets, my kitchen cabinets, where I have like my spices and oils. So I went ahead and moved that down. So now I just know that all of my oils are over there. I feel like every time I'm in the pantry and tweak things, I feel like it gets a little bit better. Sometimes that little bit better really is just a little bit. It's just a baby step, but that means that we are continuing to make things better. Sometimes when you move into a new house or a new space, it can take a while to really figure out the best place to put things. Another thing is just as needs change, that's another, reason that you would, change things up. But in here, I just kept tweaking and moving things around, and I feel like this is going to be a little more functional for our family. Also, I want to remind you guys that it is okay if your pantry does not look like the pretty pictures that you see on Pinterest. I just have a regular pantry. There are certain things that I like to put in containers, but a lot of things we leave them in their original packaging, and it just works better for our family. So definitely do what works for you. If it makes sense to decant something or put something in a particular kind of container and that really works for you and makes things easier, do it. But if it doesn't, it is okay. And in case you are wondering, when my husband got home the night after I did this, and then also my boys, I had to give them a pantry tour so that they would know where things were at, because I really did move quite a few things. And I thought it was funny. I have learned over the years that if I will just show them what I have changed up front, they are a lot more receptive to the changes, because sometimes they just get really mad when I move things around. They're like, oh man, mom moved stuff around again. So anyway, if your family is like that, just show them what you've done and tell them all the reasons you did it, because I like to make sure they know that I did it because I think it's going to function better and things like that, and then they give me less of a hard time about it. Alright, so here is the after. Nothing really changed up here. I've just got like an overflow of tea. This is where we keep like storage bags. Keep a few things right here. I try to keep things in the pantry that are not heavy. So that's kind of how things are determined right there. And then in here, this is feeling a lot more functional. So one of the things that I did is I made sure to leave space right there on the left under my crock pot for my husband's lunchbox. He can still grab that there very easily. And then the rest of this stuff is pretty much the same. In the very, very back, I know it's really hard to see, but that is really just like things that we don't get to often. And then like some overflow things. So extra bags of chips. I've got a couple extra things of flour. Things like that. It's not super easy to get to, but it's not really hard either. I just have to be careful how I put things in. And then on this shelf, it's really hard to get that white basket out, but that's where I keep potatoes. It's really easy to get the potatoes in and out of the bin. I just can't really get the bin out without pulling everything out. And then on top of that, I have bins kind of back here. One is for sweet potatoes, one is for onions, and then this little part of the shelf is where we keep open bags of chips. Right here in this basket, this is where we keep bread, bagels, things like that. I went ahead and moved my cookbooks here, like most of them. And then the bottom shelf that's empty, that is where I normally have cases of sparkling water. Normally I have some extra on hand, and that's where that goes. All right, so let's start at the top. So I went ahead and moved the cereal into this tall corner because it just makes more sense. I was trying to keep all of the breakfast items like on this shelf, but I would have to turn this cereal, like it didn't fit tall. I had to turn it down, and I don't know, it just wasn't the best situation. So I moved that up there since I moved the cookbooks down, and then we've got a couple of coffee syrups that we don't reach for often. We'll probably finish them and then not repurchase. I don't really like having those giant bottles. I prefer the smaller bottles. In this Lazy Susan, that's just overflow of condiments. And then back here, we normally have more overflow of things. So it's in the corner, so it's just overflow stuff. And then over here, I added those cookbooks that I want to keep that didn't fit down there. And then I've also got a couple of my most used Passionate Penny Pincher recipes, the celebrations, and then the new one pot. I have all of my other recipes. I still have the boxes, but I have pulled out my favorites and put them in this cookbook, so they're super easy to get to. I don't pull from this stuff super often, so I went ahead and just put some popcorn stuff right here, and then we've got pastas and like dinner helper kind of things right here. On this shelf, that's where we just have like syrup and honey, Nesquik, peanut butter, like breakfasty kind of things. And then these are those like cornbread mixes that I emptied into jars. So those are right there. And then I kind of had to just do the best I could with this corner. So these containers that we don't use super often, I went ahead and just put all of our like dessert mixes right here. I can still easily move these to get to that. I just don't have to do it very often. And then these are just our regular pantry staples. Down here on this shelf, I did quite a bit of rearranging. I moved protein shakes over here. This basket is for crackers. This basket is for like sweet snacks. We've got some graham crackers back there. We don't get in those super often, but they're still pretty accessible. And then back there, that's still just kind of more overflow. That big container is a rice that I don't use that often. It's a different kind of rice from the regular rice that I use, but I do have one recipe that we like that calls for that kind of rice, so it's just kind of out of the way. And then we've got tea and couscous back there in the back. And then I went ahead and just put those meat sticks in here. And then this is just like random sweet stuff. And then here I put just kind of unopened snack things like pretzels and party mix and wheat thins and stuff. So it's just kind of another backup bin. So everything has been wiped down, gone through. There's a couple things that were getting close to being expired, like this Jiffy mix. So that's why I really wanted it out front where it's real easy to see so that I can make a plan to use that up. And then, I don't know, I just feel like this is going to function a little better for us. I'm really glad I took the time. I typically go through the pantry once a month, but it's still nice to be able to go through and do just a really big clean. It was nice to get everything, like I said, wiped down. I got the floors clean and all of that. So I'm very happy to have this project done. I hope it gave you some inspiration. We don't have a giant pantry compared to some, but it is a very adequate sized pantry. I'm very thankful to have a pantry. I'm also thankful that we were able to put our microwave in there and some things. So it's a space that I'm thankful for, and it's something that I'm always kind of tweaking and just trying to make better. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're new to my channel and not already subscribed, please consider subscribing down below, and I will see you guys soon.